So hey guys, welcome back to my channel. What if Naruto was the pervy student of Yokai Academy? Movie 2. Later on at the infirmary, Naruto was sitting on a chair next to the bed of Kurumu. He didn't notice that she was cheering in her mind. I did it. She pumped her fists in the air in victory. I finally did it. I made that annoying Mocha cry. Tears were running down her face comically. Yahoo. Did you see that pitiful face? I can't take it. Naruto was looking at the floor wondering just what the hell happened to him. His fists were clenched so hard that his nails had cut into his skin, making it bleed. He glared at the ground in misery and disgust at what he said. However, Kurumu was still having a party. She looked at Naruto and dreamily, taking notice of how handsome Naruto really was. She smirked. Now all I have to do make Naruto my slave and I win. She blushed and tried to look as sexy as she can. Naruto-kun. Naruto looked at her sadly. That sadness was soon forgot as he found his face pressing into the cleavage of Kurumu. Naruto's eyes were wide and he sat in shock, not doing anything at all. He heard her say something, almost caringly. "You're sad, aren't you, Naruto-kun? I'm sorry, Kurumu will make you feel all better." Naruto felt his eyebrow twitch. Mocha was sitting on the steps she and Naruto were sitting on earlier that morning. She was thinking to herself as she felt tears running down her face. I wonder what I really am to Naruto. Do I really just want his blood? Mocha sighed, miserably. Mocha felt a pull on her rosary. She then heard the same voice as earlier, naive one, Naruto is just being manipulated. Mocha looked around in fear again. Wow. The rosary seemed to have talked, and again the voice appeared in her mind. It's called a charm. It's a work of sorcery that turns the opposite sex into your slave. Then Mocha realized where the voice was coming from. Wow. The voice is coming from the rosary. The rosary spoke again. I am another you. Am using the rosary as a medium through which I talk to you from deep within your psyche. Mocha looked confused. Another me. The rosary responded, the succubus is a monster that seduces males. A male who receives a kiss from a succubus is doomed to be her slave for all eternity. Hurry, at this rate, Naruto will become Kuruma's servant. Naruto knew being straddled by a beautiful girl isn't a good idea and it never turns out well. He looked at the busty blue-haired beauty with a tad bit of nervousness, thinking of how Sakura would destroy him if she found out about this. He closed his eyes. Kurumu looked down at Naruto sexily, slowly, lowering her face down to his. Kurumu was thinking, even my heart has begun to race with this kiss, the charm spell will be complete. With this kiss, I can get back at Akashiya Mocha. Naruto was struggling so very hurt against this unknown womanly control over his body. It's like he's just a puppet to her. Naruto closed his eyes and thought, ugh, it's no use. I've got to try harder. Come on, Uzumaki-sama, you can do it. Arg. It's just not right. Well, I mean it is right for me as a guy and all, but it's not right for me, it's just isn't right. What do I do? Come on. Kurumu closed her eyes as she felt his breath on her face. He smelled so wonderful, like a human and ramen. Well, anyway, she was getting close now. Naruto growled in his mind, WIT. He grabbed Kurumu, breaking free of her charm spell. Instead, Naruto hugged her, while Naruto comically cried over her shoulder, why did I have to stop? Naruto knew that even though his body wanted this so bad, his heart and mind didn't. Kurumu looked at the wall behind Naruto in shock, severely not expecting this at all. She heard Naruto's next words, and it angered her to no end. I'm sorry, Kurumu-chan, I don't want to betray someone. Naruto said this with a thought of Sakura in his mind. Just because he left for a while didn't mean that he still didn't have a crush on her. Kurumu's shock turned into uncontrollable rage. It can't be, even though I made it so he can't possibly resist. He avoids a kiss and hugs me instead. Why? She whispered. Naruto was confused, and that confusion increased when she suddenly shoved him back on the bed, yelling, why do you hate me that much? Is she so much better than me? She held her head in anger, avoiding eye contact. Naruto raised an eyebrow in confusion and a little bit of fear, managing to squeak out an A. She yelled even louder at him, and I did everything I could for you. Even though some things I did were embarrassing. Naruto watched but tried to reason with her. He never was one to stay quiet for long. But you don't even know who I'm talking about. Then Naruto watched in disgust, fear, and slight discomfort as Kurumu grew a pair of bat wings from her back. Naruto grabbed his cheeks and gave a very girly scream. Eeeeee. Kurumu was thinking so very angrily in her head, until now I have never lost to anybody. I only Akashiya Mocha wasn't here. Naruto grabbed her shoulders. Look, Kurumu, or whatever you are, I don't know what I did or said that pissed you off, but I can fix it, I think. That only seemed to piss her off even more as a tale decided to make itself known. Her ears grew like an elf's and her nails became knives, for lack of better words. Once again Naruto grabbed his cheeks and gave his girlish scream. Eeeeee. Kurumu attacked Naruto, who was in a state of shock at her transformation type deal. She gave Naruto a very harsh glare as she sped towards him. I'm gonna destroy everything that has anything to do with her. Naruto was on the verge of crying, not really well, comical crying, when Mocha came through the door with Tsukyun hot on her heels. She yelled at Kurumu, stop it. Naruto and Kurumu looked towards the duo at the door. Naruto called out, Mocha-chan. Tsukyun Yusui. Tsukyun couldn't help but let his eyebrow twitch when Naruto called him that sense. When was he, weak Tsukyun? He pointed at Naruto, Nani, why am I weak? Naruto yelled back at him, because you never do anything and you have nothing but skin on your bones. I don't even know if muscle exists on your body. Both Tsukyun and Naruto were yelling at each other. Mocha ran up to Kurumu and shouted, get off, Naruto-kun. And gave Kurumu a shove which made Kurumu go right through a wall. Naruto and Tsukyun stopped arguing to look at the damage, both had open mouths. Mocha turned to Naruto and Tsukyun and shouted, run, well there you still can. Naruto looked at Tsukyun and Tsukyun looked at Naruto, both in confusion. They looked at Mocha and shouted at the same time, what's going on? Mocha looked at them out of the corner of her eye. I'm sorry you two got wrapped up in this, that girl is a succubus. It seems like she wants revenge on me and in order to get it she targeted you, Naruto. Naruto gave a shocked expression while on the inside he was confused. He leaned over to Tsukyun, who leaned over to Naruto. What's a succubus? Naruto whispered to Tsukyun. Tsukyun shrugged, I don't know. I'm just as clueless as you are. He whispered back. Kuruma's image appeared in the broken wall while she stared at the three of them, HMPH. To be thrown so far a vampire's power is really something. Tsukyun spoke up, technically, she pushed you. Naruto turned to him in anger, shut up. Do you want the wrath of a woman upon you? You don't understand what they can do to you. Naruto looked at the two girls to see if we're paying attention. He saw that they were not and put a hand up to his mouth so they can't read his lips. Naruto whispered harshly to Tsukyun, women will tear you apart if you don't say the right stuff. Tsukyun gulped and started to cheer on Kurumu. Go Kurumu. He made ridiculous hand gestures just like a cheerleader would. Naruto covered Tsukyun's mouth in great fear and dread. He whispered in Tsukyun's ear again. What the hell are you doing? Mocha is a woman too, you know. Tsukyun's sweat dropped. He whispered back to Naruto, so I guess it's best that we're not noticed. Naruto nodded his head enthusiastically. The two human males creeped into a corner, trying to blend in with their environment so they aren't killed. However, they were interrupted when Kurumu spoke again. I'm down here so I can kill you three together. Kuruma's tail shot out and grabbed a foot of Tsukyun's. Naruto, in turn, grabbed onto Tsukyun so he could rescue him, and Mocha, in turn, grabbed onto Naruto so she could rescue both of the humans. Kurumu couldn't handle the weight of the three, so she had to drop them on the ground. Naruto used his shinobi abilities to land on his feet and catch Mocha while Tsukyun just landed roughly on his back. Naruto set Mocha down, are you okay, Mocha-chan? Mocha blushed and nodded, yes, I'm fine. Are you okay, Tsukyun? Tsukyun rubbed his head, but nodded. I think so, how about you, Naruto-damu? Naruto glared at Tsukyun, now why am I dumb? Tsukyun stood up and met his challenge. Because you get worse grades than me. And I'm not even that smart. Besides you called me weak. Naruto and Tsukyun glared at each other. Sparks flying between their eyes. Mocha hit them on the head and pointed to Kurumu. This isn't the time. We have bigger things to worry about. Tsukyun laughed sheepishly and Naruto humphed then smirked. The three of them turned their attention back to Kurumu. Tsukyun looked to Naruto, well why don't you do anything? Naruto looked at Tsukyun like he was stupid because it's one of the rules in life. Tsukyun sighed frustrated, what is? Naruto held up his finger as if to point out something. Never hit a girl. Mocha and Tsukyun face planted in disbelief. Mocha stood up, but we need you to right now. Naruto looked nervous, but even if I tried, I just couldn't do it. Tsukyun gave Naruto a deadpan look and you call me useless. Naruto was about to retort when Mocha stepped between the two. Tsukyun, please, could you take the rosary off? She got even more desperate when she saw that Kurumu was sweeping down to cut them to shreds. She turned towards Tsukyun, take off the rosario on my chest, Tsukyun. I can't do it by myself. It will release my seal. Kurumu laughed at them, what are you doing when you're about to be killed? Naruto shoved both of them to the ground and barely escaped getting his head cut off. They all watched as several trees fell apart. Tsukyun almost screamed, yikes. Now she can cut trees like butter. Mocha yelled at him, hurry and take it off or we're going to be killed. Tsukyun yelled back, okay. He grabbed hold and gave a hard tug at the collar-type rosary. Nothing happened. Naruto grabbed his head, in frantic possibly pulling some hair out, and yelled in panic, ah. It won't come off. Tsukyun freaked out, I can't take it off. It won't even budge. This time Mocha's eyes widened as she paled, she looked down at it, but it came off earlier. Kurumu swept down, laughing manically, stupid monster, all you have is strength. It looks like those two were just a burden to you, now give it up and die. Mocha looked down at Tsukyun and hugged his head to her cleavage, protectively. Tsukyun looked at her, Mocha-san, what? Naruto stepped out in front of Mocha, arms up as if he's ready to fight, protecting Mocha and Tsukyun from danger. Naruto glared at Kurumu, but Mocha and Tsukyun heard what he said. Sheesh, all cuz you cold pull a stupid rosary off a stupid chain. Maybe you're weaker than I thought, Tsukyun. Tsukyun looked at Naruto's back, slightly hurt by his words, but then he felt a fire burn deep within his chest to try to take off the rosary one more time. Tsukyun grabbed hold of the rosario and yelled, "I'm not a burden." Tsukyun gave a mighty pull. The rosary came off without any problems. Naruto smirked from his position, feeling the demonic energy fill the air. A bright light shined, blinding everyone. Kurumu shielded her eyes while she yelled, "Kaya. What is this?" Naruto grabbed Tsukyun and landed a safe distance away, watching as Mocha's figure appeared back in the light. This time she was different. Naruto could see her hair was silver and beautiful. Her breast's eyes got bigger, and her ass was more round and plump. Mocha's hand turned into claws and fangs prodded out her mouth. Her pale eyelids opened to reveal blood-red eyes, with slits down the middle. Vampire Mocha smirked sexily as she saw Kurumu. Tsukyun sighed, I made it in time. Only when I wished with everything I have, it came off. What's going on? Tsukyun looked towards Naruto and saw that he had a goofy grin as he looked at Mocha. Tsukyun sighed, Naruto is a guy after all. Kurumu glared and then shouted at Mocha, don't mess around with me. There is no way I could lose. Kurumu pointed at her chest with her nail knives, as Naruto had now dubbed them. Kurumu continued, us Akubi seek the destined encounter amongst the men we tempt. In order to keep our small species from dying out, we must carefully pick just one man out of the many to be our destined one. Kurumu swooped down, extremely pissed off. You got in the way of that Akashiya Mocha. I can't let you get away with that no matter what. Mocha smirked at her, then held her hand out, so what are you going to do? You aren't going to let me do this, so you dare bare your fangs at the likes of me? She gave a small, intimidating chuckle, frail egotistical woman. Kurumu hesitated after that, seeing the crazed and angered look of her obvious superior. Mocha lost her smirk and was no very scary. Mocha narrowed her eyes, realize your place. Kurumu watched as Mocha disappeared and reappeared behind her, grabbing her tail. Mocha smirked again, slow how about I rip of this tail and those wings, so you never fly again. Mocha whipped Kurumu around and slammed her into the ground, using her tail. A small crater formed underneath the blue-haired succubus. Kurumu gasped in pain as she clenched her eyes shut. Mocha chuckled softly, calm yourself, that attack was too straightforward, am I too difficult for you? Though you act like the devil, you're just a naive little girl. Naruto growled, listening to what Vampire Mocha was saying. It was pissing him off, she sounded so much like Sasuke. Naruto never did like how Sasuke talked. He thought too high of himself. Just like this Mocha did. Kurumu shivered in fear and pain as she saw the vampire start to close the distance between the two. Those red eyes were so cold, just like her voice. Let me make it so that you never stand up to me again. Kurumu, Tsukyun, and Mocha all looked in surprise as Naruto stood between Mocha and Kurumu, almost like he was protecting Kurumu. He had the rosary in his hand. Mocha glared at him, what is this? Move. Was this not the woman who tried to trick you and kill you? Naruto didn't say anything, but his eyes gave away his thoughts. His eyes were saying stop it. Mocha didn't smell a single ounce of fear in this boy. She narrowed her eyes in anger. Naruto spoke, stop, Mocha. Tsukyun and Mocha were surprised that he didn't call her Chan. Naruto stared at Mocha bravely, I don't see that woman, Mocha. All I see right now is a girl who is hurt and needs help. She looks to be very sorry for what she did, and not only that, I seriously doubt that she did it out of bad intentions. He smiled at Mocha. I could never see Kurumu-chan being a bad girl, Mocha-chan. Tsukyun and Kurumu looked shocked that Naruto said that. He smiled at Mocha, right now, just as how Mocha-chan is a sexy vampire, we can depend on her. Tsukyun and Kurumu sweat dropped. Mocha snatched the rosary away from Naruto, who smirked foxily. Mocha smirked back, don't misunderstand, I just didn't want your blood to be stolen away from me. I'm defiantly different from the other Mocha, and I have relatively no feelings towards you, that's why if you call me Mocha-chan one more time you will live to regret the day. Naruto stepped up very close to the vampire Mocha, who blushed the tiniest bit. He whispered to her. Do you really not feel anything at all, Mocha-chan? I think you're bluffing, otherwise you could have gotten rid of me. My blood isn't just the human blood here, there is always Tsukyun, you know. Mocha ran a finger down Naruto's cheek and whispered back, you're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid, Naruto. This time Naruto smirked, getting even closer to her, their noses almost touching. He whispered so very lowly so only Mocha could hear him. I've been known to be both of them, Mocha-sama. She smiled for the first time at him, that's more like it, until next time. Naruto watched as she hooked the rosary back onto her collar and revert into the old Mocha. Naruto smiled down at her. Then grinned foxily at the other two people in the area. He chuckled nervously. Well, that was interesting. What? The rosary talked to you? Naruto and Tsukyun listened to the quite interesting story that Mocha was telling them. Mocha nodded, yeah, the voice ended up saving us, but it's strange. Maybe the seal is weakening. Naruto nodded and Tsukyun shrugged. Mocha looked over at Naruto shyly, while Tsukyun sat on the ground, obviously trying to come up with some insults to Naruto. Mocha put a hand on Naruto's chest, catching his attention. Naruto blushed slightly. Mocha looked at him coyly. Naruto, if it comes to a point where the seal doesn't work anymore, would you still like me? She blushed red, waiting for his answer. Naruto laughed, putting his hands on his head as he thought to himself, would you still like me if my seal broke? Mocha-chan. Naruto grinned at her, of course I would, Mocha-chan. No matter what happens, we'll always be friends. Mocha looked slightly disappointed as he grinned foxily at her. She couldn't help but smile and blush, maybe one day we could be more than friends, Naruto-kun. Their conversation was ruined when Tsukyun yelled, yikes. They turned towards Tsukyun and saw him pointing at something behind them. They turned around and saw Kurono Kurumu holding cookies. Kurumu yelled happily, good morning, Naruto-kun. Naruto grinned at her and waved slightly, good morning, Kurumu-chan, what brings you here? Kurumu fidgeted while she held out the cookies. She smiled at him brightly, I baked you some cookies, Naruto-kun. Won't you eat them with me? Naruto tilted his head cutely. Huh? Why me? Kurumu blushed and fidgeted again, ooh, remember when I was looking for my life's one and only destined one? Naruto nodded, taking a cookie along with Tsukyun. Naruto took a bite of his cookie and had a look of surprise. Tsukyun took one bite of his, then scarfed it down. He cried dramatically from how good it was. Kurumu smiled as she watched Naruto chew on his cookie, a happy smile on his face. Well, Kurumu continued, getting Naruto's attention, while Mocha was glaring at her. I've decided for it to be you. Naruto choked on his cookie and was having hard time breathing. This all came so much of a shock to him, but Kurumu ignored his predicament and continued talking, Naruto-kun risked his life to protect me and I've completely totally fallen for him. Tsukyun didn't notice Naruto choking on cookie or Mocha and Kurumu having a glaring contest. He was too busy eating Kuruma's forgotten cookies, but soon Tsukyun was watching Naruto get jazzed by Mocha and Kurumu in the hallways, yelled obscenely. Kurumu held her arms out in front of her, Naruto-kun. Please hurry up and marry me. Mocha looked between Naruto and Kurumu frantically. Oh. What are you saying, Kurumu-chan? Naruto. Do something. Naruto looked between the two with a smile on his face, enjoying life. I don't see any problems, Mocha-chan. And I'm not gonna marry you, Kurumu-chan. Both of them started to yell unknown words to Naruto, who continued to run away from them. Tsukyun could only sigh as the rest of the male student body section of this academy felt worthless in the presence of Uzumaki Naruto. Tsukyun could only shrug as he tried to comfort the male monsters. Some guys just walk in the light, you know. I don't own Naruto or Rosario vampire, yeah. Naruto panted as he looked at his opponent. He growled at the duplicate of the foxy boy. They were having a standoff in a clearing far from the school. Naruto found this the second day of school and decided to make it his personal training grounds. Today, or should I say, this early morning, Naruto was wearing a pair of loose black basketball shorts and a plain white t-shirt on. His headband was back on his forehead and the many bracelets around Naruto's wrists were bandaged down so they wouldn't get in the way of his training. Naruto wiped his brow as he got into an offensive taijutsu stance. His hands were relaxed and not clenched, while his arms were a little parted from his body at a 90-degree bend at the elbow. The legs were shoulder-length apart, a slight bend in his legs. The taijutsu stance he was in was something gay search brother dude, another taijutsu monster, minus the green spandex, had taught him while he was on the training trip with Iro Sennin. Naruto unconsciously flinched, thinking about Jiraiya was still too hard to do. He relaxed his face into a battle-hard face, one that had seen things no one wants to see. This taijutsu style concentrated on very fast movements, jabs, elbows and harsh knees and kicks. It was called Rising Phoenix. Suddenly the original Naruto disappeared and reappeared to the side of the clone who was in the standard Hyuga defensive taijutsu stance. Dude Sen had been trained by a Hyuga for a Jonin sensei when he was a genin and he had learned so much from the man. Dude had figured out that even though you don't have the Byakugan you can still do their taijutsu style, misusing the fact that you can't use Tenketsu to render your opponent useless, but instead dude decided to use pressure points or nerve points in replace of the Tenketsu. And though it took Naruto almost an unlimited amount of practice and training, Naruto was able to master this type of taijutsu along with several others. You may think that 3 years isn't enough to master many taijutsu styles. Jiraiya taught Naruto the true abilities of the Kagebunshin, which in turn allowed Naruto to master several taijutsu styles, several sword battling styles and many powerful jutsu in that short amount of time. And while Naruto's clones were practicing all this, Naruto, the real Naruto, had only been conditioning his body for 3 years. Intense training and hard work allowed to catch up to Lee in terms of speed and power. Both without their weights on, in Naruto's case gravity seal, Lee and Naruto were about the same speed as each other. But what gave Naruto an advantage over Lee in speed was a technique he had used and completed. Jiraiya had thought it was ridiculous to let Naruto try to experiment on this very famous technique so that Naruto could use the technique with absolutely no setbacks whatsoever. The last year of Naruto's training consisted of him training physically, having battle strategies taught to him by Jiraiya, and learning about seals excessively, and then finally experimenting on a jutsu Jiraiya thought was impossible for Naruto to use. The Hirishin no Jutsu. While Naruto had a very difficult time using the Hirishin due to the amount of chakra it took and chakra search control it took, he still was able to use it with the specially made kunai. Naruto was trying so very hard to be able to get the Hirishin to work without any seals on a kunai. So all in all Naruto was trying to create a technique that allowed him to travel through space and time to get to a spot anywhere in the world instantly. Jiraiya himself was doubtful that Naruto could do it, but Naruto never gave up and is still to this day working on that technique. But enough of that, let's get back to the match. Naruto had appeared next to the clone who was in a standard Hyuga defensive Taijutsu stance, ready to kick him viscously in the face. The clone dodged the attack by taking a step back, then while Naruto was still in the air attacked him using a palm strike to his thigh. Naruto used his hand to push the clone's hand away, and right when Naruto's foot touched the ground, he disappeared again. The clone dodged an uppercut from Naruto as he used his middle and pointer finger to jab at a seemingly random part on his leg. Naruto disappeared again. Naruto stood again, a little bit of a distance away. He narrowed his eyes at his clone who smirked. Naruto could feel part of his leg numb up in pain from his clone using chakra to pinch a nerve closed. Naruto disappeared and snuck up behind the clone, sending a rough roundhouse kick to the back of the clone. The clone dissipated into a puff of smoke. Naruto sighed as he created another clone and had him do the same thing that the first clone did. This went on for about an hour before one of the clones Naruto was fighting decided to take the battle just a tad bit too far. Naruto was exhausted, tired, hungry, and in pain. Several of his muscles were stinging in pain as the clones continued to assault the inside of his body with their chakra palm strikes. Many places on his body were numb from those stupid finger jabs they kept doing. Naruto sprinted at the clone fast, ready to give him a hard elbow to the chest, attempting to end this fight right then and there. The clone grinned stupidly at Naruto, then made a one-handed ram seal. Naruto didn't notice the seal until it was too late. The clone grinned and yelled, boom. And the clone did go boom. Naruto grimaced as pain flooded his body. The explosion the clone created sent him flying back, skidding across the ground. Naruto felt himself hit his head on something very hard, then a wet splack sound was made, and Naruto's world went black. Naruto groaned as he felt himself awake to the world of the living. He flinched as his head felt like someone was pounding dull nails into his brain. Naruto felt around his head. He touched a sensitive wet spot on the back of his head. He felt around then flinched bringing his hand to his face to see what the wet substance was. It was blood. Naruto knew that even though there was blood on his head, he most likely didn't have any injuries. Naruto got up. His body complaining from the stiffness and soreness. He started walking back to his dorm room to get ready for the day. Naruto arrived at his room and sighed. Closing the door behind him. He trudged slowly to the bathroom, undressing whatever remained of his clothes. Naruto turned on the water and checked the temperature. He withdrew his hand as it was too cold for his liking. As Naruto waited for the water to warm up he looked at himself in the mirror. Naruto had to admit to himself he had a nice body. He flexed a couple times and then smiled sexily at himself. Before he flinched in pain as his head still was quite tender. Naruto sighed and looked at his body, this time at the scars on his body. There were too many scars to count, but one grayish-pinkish one stood out the most. It was in a roundish type shape. About the size of a fist. Naruto closed his eyes, feeling the scar with his fingers. One of the many that was not only on his body, but on his heart. Naruto looked at the mirror again and felt anger well up inside. Just thinking about that bastard made him angry. Naruto slammed his fists on the sink counter. He looked at his image and wasn't surprised to see red eyes staring back at him. Naruto took a deep breath to calm down and felt the Kyuubi's chakra leave him. Naruto sighed as he scratched the back of his neck, God I hate this school. And then he got into the shower. Naruto gave Mocha a deadpan look. Mocha was giving Naruto a shocked, unsure and almost pleading look. She put her hand on her chest. It's really alright, Naruto. Naruto shrugged, yeah it is. For like the fourth time. Mocha blushed and leaned in dramatically, oh I'm so happy, Naruto. Naruto smiled nervously and laughed, Mocha-chan. She leaned even closer, it's the first time you know. Naruto leaned his head to the left as she grabbed onto his neck with her fangs, that you let me suck your blood. Even though Tsukyun had seen Naruto get his blood sucked by Mocha many times this time it just felt so wrong. Tsukyun shivered, oh. I wish I was Naruto. Naruto always felt so weird when she sucks his blood. Like his life source was slowly draining away. The girly scream went through the air as Naruto fell to the ground. Mocha held her face tenderly and daydreamed. Oh. Naruto's blood is always so yummy. Naruto lay on the ground, a little cloud over his head as he saw the stars in the middle of day. Thanks to her, I'm always on the ground, but Mocha-chan's never gonna know that, will she? Naruto, Mocha, and Tsukyun all heard the bell ring for morning classes to start. They all left to go to their respective classes. As they arrived in the same classroom, they chatted for a while, but then the bell rung again. Nekonom-sensei walked in, as perky as ever. She smiled at the class. As you all know, this academy's goal is to train monsters to adapt to human way of life, just as I have been saying all along. She perked up even more, so that means starting today you are all going to take up club activities. Several groans went through the classroom. Naruto looked out the window, uninterested in what she was saying. Tsukyun blinked, slightly confused. Mocha looked excited like always. Nekonom-sensei pointed to the blackboard. On the blackboard was a rectangle with the words club activities. On it, an arrow was pointing away from the box, and a list was set up, all of it saying human sports, human arts, human values. On it, Nekonom-sensei smiled. Well, get a deeper understanding of humans by experiencing with human-made activities through some sweat in a club. To transform into humans perfectly, you must have a clear understanding of humans. The boy, either brave or stupid, stood up. Sensei? He asked, raising his hand. Naruto looked at him, uninterested. The boy pointed to Nekonom-sensei's tail. Won't it give you an F in transformation? Whispers went around the room about sensei having a tail. Naruto raised an eyebrow in slight shock, but then shrugged. If Kurumu-chan can have a tail and creepy bat wings, Nekonom-sensei can have a tail. Nekonom-sensei just squinted at her tail, then at the boy. It was quiet. Then she mauled his face, scratching at it without mercy. The boy cried comically as blood flowed from his wounds. Nekonom-sensei continued as if nothing happened. Understand, everyone will participate in club activities. It was quite obvious that she was trying to hide her tail behind a book that she somehow obtained. She continued, everyone. Please visit many groups and decide which one you want to enter. Be sure to visit the newspaper club that I'm advisor for, okay? Naruto, Tsukyun and Mocha were all very excited to pick out a club activity they can all do together. Mocha turned towards the two boys. One was looking around in awe and excitement, the other was just looking around with his hands behind his head. Tsukyun smiled, isn't it awesome? I bet every club has someone advertising it here. Mocha giggled, what group should we enter? Naruto stopped walking, I don't really care as long as it's something not boring. And as long as I'm with you too. Tsukyun thought a swimming suit pooped up in his head. How about the swimming club? Naruto nodded thoughtfully. Yeah, swimming is fun and active, and I get to spend my time with you too. I like it. Naruto leaned in close to Tsukyun, nudging him. Sides, I know you won't mind seeing Mocha-chan in a two-piece, would you? Tsukyun blushed and thought, well, that's exactly what I was thinking. Mocha looked away from them, stuttering, but ere she looked back at the two of them and smiled excitedly. Anyway, it's still way too early to decide. Let's go visit a lot of clubs, since they went through all of this trouble. Mocha, Tsukyun, and Naruto all walked around getting many different ideas and strange people, asking them to be in their club. Mocha first had a creepy guy offer her a spot in the modeling club with nude pictures, then, after that was a geeky guy holding a basket of bugs. He was with a chemistry club, then, after that there was an acupuncture club, a mummy club, and even a creepy club. Naruto himself was asked to be in many clubs with a female student body, like a cheerleading club with many different beautiful girls, giving him a sexy look. Naruto asked, isn't cheerleading just for girls? One blonde-haired girl nodded, normally, yes. But for you we can make an exception. You don't even have to do anything. You could just watch us. Naruto's interest was captured, but before he could answer he was pushed away by Mocha, who gave the slutty girls a very harsh death glare. Naruto waved goodbye with a goofy grin on his face. Another club that offered was a massage club, where the club members took turns each session giving each other a massage. The girls in that group practically dragged Naruto over to them, while Mocha grabbed Naruto's wrist and dragged him away again. And Naruto waved goodbye again. And Tsukyun was thinking about the power of Uzumaki Naruto and his abilities that he holds over women again. Tsukyun sighed, don't they have any normal clubs at this school? Naruto nodded, yeah, like basketball. Tsukyun nodded, agreeing before he realized what Naruto was saying. In a corner was a basketball hoop and a couple of older students who looked over at anyone who dared try to shoot the ball. Naruto watched as several students attempted to make the ball two in the hoop, but after many tries no one was able to do it. Tsukyun looked at Naruto like he was crazy. Why, basketball? Mocha can't do it. It's only for guys. Naruto nodded again, not paying attention. He'll be back. Naruto went over to the boys. Tsukyun sighed and looked at Mocha and shrugged, well, I guess we don't have a club to join. The two heard a voice behind them and they looked at the source. A beautiful girl was standing there in nothing but a bikini and a towel on. She had brown wavy hair. Two girls were standing behind her. She looked at Tsukyun, I'm the swimming club captain, Ichinis Tamao. Why don't we swim together? She gave Tsukyun a smile, the swimming club is all female and will give special attention to the boy who joins our club. Tsukyun could hear all the boys asking Tamao if they could join the club, well he thought in his head, whew, thank goodness it seems like the swimming club is still normal. They all followed the club to an outdoor swimming pool. They simmers all threw off their clothes and were all in nothing but a bikini. Several of the males that followed also looked at the scene with hearts in their eyes and bloody noses. They were very excited about being there obviously. One of the girls waved everyone over, let's all swim together. We have spare swimsuits. As everyone changed and got into the pool, enjoying themselves one thought went through each of their minds, the swimming club rocks. Tsukyun looked towards the water and was grinning happily, imagining him and Mocha swimming together. He chuckled, at least Naruto decided to join that basketball club now it's just me and Mocha-san. He pumped his fists as fire appeared in his eyes, imagining him and Mocha swimming and having a great time. Mocha, however, was looking at the water fearfully and nervously. She turned towards Tsukyun, Tsukyun. I don't really like swimming. Tsukyun's world went crashing down on him. Tsukyun and Mocha were sitting by the pool side, watching everyone else enjoy playing in the water. Tsukyun sighed, I guess it's true Mocha-san doesn't understand my feelings at all my dream of seeing Mocha-san in a swimsuit. They both heard a voice, oh, what are you doing over here? Tsukyun felt the Captain Tamao's arms wrap around his torso. Tsukyun blushed, he felt the barely covered up assets of the swimming club captain rub on his back. Mocha looked surprised at the captain being so forward, but other than that had no other visible reaction. The captain looked at Mocha, so you're the rumored Akashiya Mocha, the rumors say that you're a vampire, I wonder if it's true. Well anyway this is a swimming club. She gave Mocha a hard cold look, if you have no intention to swim, why don't you leave? Mocha was slightly surprised by her rudeness. And quietly answered, Tsukyun's a friend. I have nowhere else to go to. 10 minutes later. Mocha sat in the same spot, watching the two in the water flirt and have a good time with each other. Mocha was bored and slightly lonely. She really wanted to swim, but since she was a vampire. Mocha's thoughts drifted to Naruto. Was he really going to join that basketball club? He'd be good at it, Mocha thought sadly, thinking about how they would be separated if he did join and with Tsukyun joining the swimming club, she would be all alone again. Mocha saw Tsukyun look at him, she waved at him, trying to cover up her loneliness. It seemed to work as Tsukyun smiled back and continued laughing and swimming with Tamao. Well he looks like he's having fun. Mocha jumped out of her skin when she heard the voice, she turned around to see Naruto eating an ice cream cone, he had another one in his hand. Mocha's face brightened when she saw him. Naruto handed her the extra ice cream cone. She started licking it, now happy. She smiled at Naruto, has been flirting with her for a little while now. They seem to be having a lot of fun. Naruto nodded taking a lick, yeah, it's about time someone noticed Tsukyun. Tsukyun looked over at Mocha again, having a slightly guilty conscience at leaving her alone, and saw that she was laughing and talking with Naruto. Both of them had ice cream in their hands. Tsukyun smiled, somewhat happy that Mocha wasn't alone over there anymore, but didn't like that it had to be Naruto. The girl Tsukyun was crushing on Naruto, not helping, plus Tsukyun couldn't help but wonder how Naruto always got those ice cream cones. The couple of the girls noticed Naruto and looked at each other and grinned. They walked up behind Naruto and both hugged him. Naruto dropped his ice cream, he looked on sadly as he heard the girls that made him drop his ice cream say, what's this? Why aren't you in the pool? Naruto looked at them slightly angered, well I don't have swimming trunks and I'm not a big fan of swimming. They smiled, oh, don't worry we have extras. Naruto shook his head, now annoyed, please I said no, sides I don't want to leave Mocha-chan here alone. Mocha blushed, however the girls looked at each, then they looked at Naruto, oh, but you could just stay on the side of the pool near her, swimming club is about swimming you know. Naruto this time glared at them, look I told you already I don't like swimming, it's not my thing, I don't care too much for undressing in public anyway. The girls just looked at each other, then grabbed Naruto, yelling oh don't be stupid. You probably look great in trunks. Naruto yelled, confused as to what was going on. Everyone watched as the girls stripped Naruto and forced him into a pair of swimming trunks. Everything stopped when Naruto stood up. Mocha blushed, but gave Naruto a shocked stare. The girls looked just plain shocked. Tsukyun stared at Naruto, an almost apologetic look on his face. Naruto was not looking too happy at the girls. His blue eyes were slowly turning red. On Naruto's well-toned body, the six-pack and Mocha couldn't help but blush, was too many scars to count. The dull gray of the scars were littered all over his torso. Mocha looked at all of them. Many were almost faded completely, but there was still a lot that were either search pink still or a very noticeable search pink gray. The scar on the right side of his chest looked like some just punched a hole through his chest, another one started at his left shoulder and near his belly button. His back wasn't any better. However, what really caught their attention was the black swirly tattoo on his navel area. Some parts look extremely faded, but it was pulsing, a red tint was seeping out of the tattoo. The pool was dead quiet. As Naruto turned away from them and put his shirt back on, forgoing buttoning up the white t-shirt and left with his tie, pants, socks and shoes in his hand. Without any words, Naruto was leaving the pool, walking right past Mocha, who was too shocked to move. The pool remained quiet until Mocha turned towards the girls. Who did this? How could you? How could you just invade someone's respects and wishes like that? They shrugged. Well, Hess hot, and how was I supposed to know that he had a scary looking chest? Mocha felt the anger well up inside her. That still doesn't give you the right. Sukyun swam up to the side of the pool and looked at her, but they didn't mean any harm to him, Mocha-san. They did the same to me as well. Mocha turned towards him, in slight shock. Sukyun, how could you defend them? We're friends. Sukyun was taken back. They didn't mean any harm, Mocha-san. They just want to have fun. Mocha felt tears in her eyes. Oh, so this is what this is about. Fun. Just like you having fun with all these girls in the water. Sukyun could feel himself getting angry, but you could have joined me, Mocha-san. I really only wanted to swim with you. Mocha clenched her fists. Even if I wanted to swim I couldn't. You just don't understand, you see. Mocha was about to continue before a splash soaked her in water. Mocha looked shocked as Sukyun looked to see who did it. Tamao was staring at the two of them with a hard, disappointed look on her face, though you're free to visit, fighting is such an ugly sight. And it looks so childish whether you understand each other or not. How petty. Between a man and a woman, the important thing is to see if your heart has been stolen or vice versa. Mocha looked at her wet hands in shock. She whispered, no water, and with that she turned away, running. Sukyun called out to her. Mocha-san. Mocha didn't stop running. No, Sukyun. You stay there. Tamao whispered to herself, so the rumors are true. Mocha ran until she was well out of sight of anyone. She leaned against the wall but felt her strength leaving her, so she slid down the wall until she was resting on the ground. Mocha heard a voice, you fool. How could you be so close to something like a pool? I, too, inhabit this body, so put an end to such reckless behavior. Don't let the likes of idiots make you do such things. Mocha whispered weakly, and no. The rosary responded, what? Mocha crossed her arms on her legs. I'm sick of this body, why can't I be like everyone else? I'm weird, I want to swim with Sukyun and Naruto-kun too. The rosary was quiet as it listened. Mocha cried as she looked hopelessly down at her feet, I want to be with Naruto too. Little did Mocha know, a pair of blue eyes was staring sadly at her from above. Sukyun watched as many people played in the pool, enjoying each other's company as well as having fun. However, Sukyun wasn't having that much fun, it just wasn't that great without Mocha-san. He turned towards the captain of the swimming club, Tamao-senpai. He gave a little bow to show his respect. I'm sorry, but I don't want to stay in the swimming club, it won't be the same without Mocha-san. Tamao smiled at him, oh, what are you talking about? And just when I finally chased off that Mocha. Isn't the fun beginning? She held out her hand to Sukyun, only it was different. It was claws, deformed and webbed. Didn't you hear me? Either have your heart stolen or you steal theirs. Sukyun heard a scream behind him and he whirled around. His eyes widened in shock, a boy was getting chased down in the water by two girls. He yelled at them, stop it, why are you suddenly coming after me, senpai? The two girls caught up to the swimming away boy and bit onto his arms. Slowly the life and energy of the boy was drained to the point where he looked like an old dusty man. Sukyun was shocked, he turned towards Tamao, looking for an explanation, but all he said was a giant fin emerged itself into the water. However, Sukyun could still hear Tamao's voice, don't think badly of us. Luring men into water and sucking their life energy, this is simply our natural way of life. Sukyun watched, shocked as the fin jumped out of the water. Apparently that fin was Tamao, who looked just like an evil mermaid for better words. She smiled at Sukyun again, isn't it wonderful? Sukyun was shocked and slightly afraid. Mermaids. He watched as other girls chased after other boys and sucked out their life energy. He had a very uneasy feeling in his gut, and not to mention the fear he could feel in his heart. So at this moment Sukyun did the only thing he felt was necessary, he freaked out. What's going on, mermaids? Are mermaids really this scary? We're being attacked, we're gonna be killed. He held out his hands running around in a circle. Then Sukyun felt arms wrap around his neck and stiffened. A shiver went down his back as his eyes widened. He heard Tamao whisper in his ear. No need to panic, it's fine, you're special, Sukyun-kun. She gently cupped his cheek and made sure he looked at her face. She continued to whisper, the truth is I've had my eyes set on you since the entrance ceremony. Ever since then, I've spent all my time dreaming about you. It's just, you see, she grinned, her mouth now scaly and grotesque. Sukyun's eyes widened, Tamao continued. You have a very yummy scent, just like a human, Sukyun-kun. Then she opened her mouth, it looked like a turtle mouth only with many rows of sharp pointy teeth. Sukyun was scared. The now freaky-looking Tamao yelled at him with a gurgly voice, I've always wanted to eat you up. Before she could bite Sukyun, a voice rang through the air, Sukyun. Then Tsukyun heard another voice, Tsukyun Yusui. His eyebrow twitched as he knew who that was without even turning around. However, for the sake of seeing Moka-san he did turn around. Moka ran up to the side of the pool, Tsukyun. What's going on? Naruto raised an eyebrow at Tsukyun's predicament. Tamao yelled angrily over to Moka, what? Are you back again? Don't get in my way. Not that you could, you're nothing but a worthless monster that can't even swim. Tsukyun and Naruto looked at Moka, who steeled her resolve, and wondered, can't swim. Tama laughed, I'm right aren't I? It's a well-known story. There's nothing you can do. Water hater. Pitiful at least watch from over there. Naruto watched in horror as Moka dived in, he didn't know exactly what water could do to a vampire, but still if you can't swim why go in? Naruto narrowed his eyes, he then proceeded to dive in after her. Immediately after Moka and Naruto dove in a huge spurt of lightning was sent up everywhere. Tsukyun watched in worry over the two. Just then Tsukyun heard a voice, Tsukyun. He turned and looked in the direction the voice came. He yelled, Kurumu-san. Kurumu looked at Tsukyun with worry in her eyes, if we don't hurry and save Moka, she's gonna die. Don't you know? Vampires can't go near water. Because water drains a vampire's powers, is she nuts? Jumping into water like that. Tsukyun and Kurumu looked to where Moka dove in at, he was just about to go after her when water shot straight up into the air. Tsukyun's eyes widened wide, not believing his eyes as he saw the most incredible thing ever. Kurumu looked shocked as well. Naruto was standing on top of the water holding an unconscious Moka in his arms, bridal style. Her head was resting on his chest. Besides the fact that Naruto was standing on the water, the look in his eyes was scary enough. No longer were the heartwarming, kind blue eyes of Uzumaki Naruto, but in their place were the crimson blood-chilling fiery eyes of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. However they didn't know that. They just saw really scary red eyes. Naruto was glaring at Tamao with utmost hate. Without taking his eyes off her, a clone appeared by his side, taking Moka from Naruto and setting her down on the side of the pool near Kurumu. Tsukyun watched with awe and slight fear as the Naruto clone appeared next to him and pulled him out of the water, setting him down next to Moka. Naruto watched as Tamao glared at him and shouted, doesn't matter. I'll take your life energy instead of Tsukyun's. Naruto narrowed his eyes and growled dangerously, shut up or I'll kill you. Tamao bared her pointy teeth. Naruto lowered his head so the top half of his face was shadowed, but his red eyes were glowing through the shadows, making incredibly intimidating. The wind was blowing very hard around Naruto, causing his clothes to flick and move crazily, also making the water in the pool create huge waves. An eerie blue seeped out of Naruto's skin, layering him slightly. The blue radiated a bright light, making him even more intimidating. Tamao looked shocked and whispered to herself, this overwhelming feeling, is this Uzumaki Naruto's true form? Kurumu watched in fascination, Naruto-kun. Tsukyun was staring intently at Naruto, partly in shock, the other part in curiosity. Tamao glared at Naruto, oh come on, I had my eyes set on Tsukyun-kun, and I'm not gonna let this moment be ruined by the likes of you. Several more mermaids surrounded Naruto who didn't even flinch. Tamao smirked, I don't know how strong you are, but in our territory, a mermaid is always victorious. If you're going to beg for your life, now's the time. Naruto smirked at her, I don't beg, missy. And for a shinobi any terrain is our territory, and we are never defeated. Tamao joined in with her as they jumped at Naruto. Naruto looked at them and scowled, really now? How unnecessarily stupid. Right before they could bite Naruto, he jumped high up into the air staring down at all of them. He smirked and started to do hand seals. Tamao grinned devilishly, you're too slow. Though you talk tough, it seems you're totally weak. You're a great target in midair. Die. Tsukyun shouted at Naruto, Naruto damu. Kurumu hit him on the head, shhhh. Now isn't the time to insult him. Naruto finished his hand seals and smirked, he whispered, Ninpu. Chakrabakufu no jutsu. Naruto set his palms out in front of him, exactly where all the mermaids would meet. He had one hand on top of the other. A small blue orb formed about 3 inches away from the skin of the palm. Then suddenly the orb got bigger and a blinding flash of blue bursted from the orb as a beam of hot pure energy shot towards the spot where the mermaids were going to meet. The beam of energy was about as wide as Naruto is tall and just as round. Kurumu and Tsukyun looked on with shock and awe as the heavenly blue light completely hid the mermaid, however their screams were still heard. The light gave Naruto an eerie kickish look. Kurumu smiled dreamily as Naruto stopped the technique and backflipped into a landing right on the edge of the pool, while the mermaids fell into the boiling hot pool of water, not dead but injured pretty badly. Naruto smirked, obviously a mid-air attack is not a mermaid's territory. Tsukyun waved Naruto over, Naruto Damumoka-san is still knocked out. I'm worried about her. Naruto stared at Tsukyun for a bit, then smiled, hi, Tsukyun Yusui. Naruto put his hand on Tsukyun's head as Tsukyun looked at Naruto in confusion. Naruto didn't say anything as he kept his hand on Tsukyun's head but walked past him towards Moka. Naruto kneeled next to Mocha and got into a thinking position. He then proceeded to concentrate chakra very intensely towards his hands. The green light flickered on his hands, then it surrounded his hands confidently. Naruto put the green chakra on Mocha's head and heart, filling her with energy and healing any wounds she received from this encounter. Sukyun and Kurumu watched with interest as the tired, pained look on Mocha's face slowly relaxed into a peaceful one. Naruto sat back and wiped his forehead from the amount of concentration that it took for him to do that. He turned towards Sukyun. She should be fine with a day's rest. But for now I think I'm going to go back to my dorm. You two want to come with me? Kurumu and Sukyun looked at each other, then nodded. Naruto, Sukyun, and Kurumu all walked to Naruto's dorm. Mocha was asleep in Naruto's arms, head leaning against his chest. Naruto was walking cheerfully. Sukyun looked at Naruto questionably. Naruto knew this, for Sukyun has been looking like he was wanting to ask Naruto something for quite a while already. Naruto looked at Sukyun out of the corner of his eye. What is it you want to ask, Sukyun Usui? Sukyun's eye twitched at the slight tease, but he sighed. Naruto, how did you and Mocha meet up with each other after she left? Naruto blinked, but furrowed his eyebrows. That wasn't the question he wanted to ask. Naruto shrugged, still walking. Oh. I forgot I haven't told you yet. Flashback. Mocha sat there crying at the side of the building, her inner side quiet. She saw a shadow at her feet and her head snapped up to look at who got so close to her without her noticing. Naruto was kneeling in front of her smiling. His eyes showed sympathy and understanding. No pity was held in those blue depths he call eyes. Mocha felt herself almost get lost in them, for once noticing how Naruto made her feel. Naruto smiled sadly. I know how you feel, Mocha-chan, the pain of being alone, wanting to be something entirely different from what you really are, wanting to hide your pain behind a mask so others can't see it. You don't need to hide anymore, Mocha-chan, I'm here for you. Mocha sniffed, then felt fresh tears pour out of her eyes as she lunged herself towards Naruto, hugging him. She buried her head into the crook of his neck as she sobbed. Naruto sat back, letting Mocha fall into his lap as he said soothing words to her and held her tightly to him. He brushed his hands through her long serge pink hair as he held her almost protectively. Mocha was holding onto his shirt with clenched fist, almost like her life depended on it as she cried. Naruto didn't say move an inch until he felt her crying lessen slightly. He looked down at her as he stopped talking soothingly. His hands, however, continued to stroke her hair and back. Naruto leaned her back slightly so he can look at her face with his. Naruto smiled softly at her as she saw him and couldn't help but smile. A slight hiccup escaped from her mouth. Naruto reached for something in his pocket, his tongue sticking out. Mocha giggled. Naruto pulled out a small can and handed it to Mocha. I bought some before I came down here, I thought you would like it. Mocha looked at the can of tomato juice. She smiled at Naruto, but furrowed her eyebrows as there was no way to open it. Naruto blinked and chuckled sheepishly. Oops, I guess I forgot one of those opener thingies, right? Well, let me see it for a second. Mocha handed it back to Naruto, who put one end up to one of his longer, sharper canines. He used his tooth to poke a hole on each side so Mocha could drink the juice. Naruto handed it back to her, a smile on his face. Mocha looked at Naruto. Her eyes meeting his, Mocha then took a sip and leaned against him, whispering, thank you, Naruto-kun. Naruto laughed and scratched the back of his neck. Ah, you know, it was no big deal, I would have done it for any friend. I mean, that's what friends do, right? Naruto then felt something warm and soft kiss his cheek slightly. Naruto looked at Mocha confused, who was blushing madly, but other than that was smiling and drinking her tomato juice. Naruto then laughed as she finished her juice. He scooped her up into his arms, making Mocha squeal in surprise. Naruto smiled at her. Well, are we going to save Tsukune or what? Mocha, still blushing, smiled at Naruto and laughed, of course. But first, could you put me down? Naruto looked at her and laughed, setting her down. He scratched behind his neck again. He opened his eyes and saw that Mocha was a few feet away, waving at him to hurry up. Naruto grinned and ran to catch up to her. Flashback end. Mocha felt herself wake up as Naruto finished telling the other two his story. She listened to who she presumed to be Naruto's heartbeat. It was slow and controlled. She took a deep breath, smelling the human scent on him, but this time she could smell something, other things as well. Like ramen and the smell of fresh air. She also noticed that Naruto seemed to smell very faintly of a kitsune-type monster. Then she heard Tsukune ask a question that was on her mind for a while. Naruto, I want to know, how did you get all of those scars on your body? Naruto stopped walking as Mocha was quietly listening, making sure to still pretend she was asleep. Naruto looked down, he tightened his grip on Mocha, who could hear his heart speed up, slow down, then speed up again. Naruto took a deep breath. Kurumu and Tsukune listened intently. Kurumu was just curious to hear about Naruto's scars, which she didn't have a clue about, but Tsukune was really interested in the story behind all of it. Naruto looked up at the sky. Where I live, there is a person in the village who is the strongest of all. He or she is called the Hokage. Their duties to the village are to protect it with their life as well as do what they deem best for the village. At the time a young man with blonde hair and blue eyes, Sukyun and Kurumu looked at him oddly. Naruto chuckled, no, not me. But a young man with blonde hair and blue eyes was just promoted into Hokage. He was very proud and a happy man. His newly wedded wife was about to give birth to their firstborn son. That Hokage couldn't have been any more happier than he was at that point in time. He was the strongest, his beautiful wife was about to give birth to a beautiful child, and he had the love of his village. His name was Namikaze Minato, but all good things must come to an end, as the saying goes. On the night of October 10th, the wife of Minato went into labor, ready to give birth to their son. However, that same night, a demon kitsune had attacked their village. Minato didn't know what to do as the demons slaughtered much of their forces, destroying half of the village. He had only one choice: he had to seal the Kyuubi no Kitsune into a baby. At this Kurumu gasped, recognizing the name of the demon lord, the strongest monster to have existed. Naruto continued, Minato had to seal it into a newborn baby, not even a day old, because he needed someone that hasn't even begun to form their chakra pathways yet. There were very few babies born on that night, but many of them died. Minato knew he had to seal the Kyuubi into his newborn child, because not only was he the only child left alive, but because Minato couldn't ask anyone else to give up their child for a disastrous future ahead of them. So Minato sealed the demon into his son, killing himself in the process. Minato had lived a righteous life, and even though he sealed the worst demon in existence into his own son, he did it with the best intentions. Minato's last wish for all the world to see was to have his son be seen as a hero instead of a demon. However, his wishes were in vain as the village grew to hate and despise the young boy. His mother died giving birth to him, so he grew up alone, hated. He had lost count of all the times he watched other kids play with their brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers. He had lost count of how many times he was beaten in dark alleyways by drunk men and some brave men. The boy, the hero, grew up alone. Hated for something he had no search control over. He had no one, no friends, no family, but the only thing that kept him from going insane was an old man. He was the Hokage at this time who always was there for the boy. I remember once the old Hokage had given the young boy a teddy bear once for a gift for being good. That bear was his only friend. And even though some of the older kids thought it was the stupidest thing ever, they deemed it necessary to pelt him with rocks, and, while the boy was on the ground in pain, they took his only friend away from him, burning it to ashes before his eyes. Naruto looked at them, a deep sadness in his eyes. He lived like this for 13 years, hiding in shadows and trying to cover up the pain that he felt in his heart by fake laughs and smiles. He had comforted so many people in his life, yet no one thought he was worthy enough to even try to find out what he truly thought. But then, one day it all ended when he made friends with another young boy who was all alone. They were rivals and best friends. They ended up being on a team together. That team ended up being precious to him. Then he kept meeting new people and they became precious to him, and so on. After a while of being a ninja for his village, just like his father, people began to see him for who he really was. Slowly the amount of precious people grew and grew until his loneliness finally had disappeared. He wasn't alone anymore. Naruto looked down again. Sukyun stared at Naruto in shock, adding 2 and 2 together. Kurumu had tears falling down her face as she held her hand in front of her mouth. Mocha, though she desperately tried to hide it, she too was crying. Naruto then smiled at them. Then one day that boy had defeated a man who was virtually unbeatable. He was rewarded for it. Of course, he became the hero of his village like his father wanted him to be, and what he wanted to be ever since he was a young boy. But then the Hokage at this moment thought it was necessary to rip all of this away from the boy, no, from the man. He had sent him to a school far away. A school filled with monsters where he and another man became very good friends, almost as good as that young man's first true friend. And that pain had went away again. Naruto looked at the two of them and smiled sadly. I hope that answers your questions well enough, Sukyun-kun. Now if you please. Let's continue on to my dorm. Naruto started walking again, leaving behind Sukyun and Kurumu, who watched him leave. Both had different thoughts, but they both were leading up to the same thing. I promise you I will always be there for you. Naruto stopped in front of his door, trying to find the keys in his pockets. He stuck his tongue out, trying to desperately find his keys. Then with a cry of triumph, he pulled them from his pocket. Sukyun and Kurumu, finally catching up to him. Naruto unlocked his door and walked inside. Sukyun and Kurumu waited outside the door. Naruto turned towards them with an annoyed look. Well, are you going to come in? Sukyun and Kurumu blushed a bit and then went inside, closing the door behind them. They looked around as Naruto set Mocha down on his futon and shut the door behind him, letting Mocha sleep. Naruto went to the small kitchen, calling out to them, do you guys want anything to eat? I don't really have much of an option, mainly it's all just ramen. Kurumu looked at a picture frame. She bent over to look at it while she called back, no, I'm good. Sukyun politely declined also. Naruto shrugged, suit yourself. More for me then. Kurumu inspected the picture a little bit more. She looked at the people in the frame. One of them was apparently the tallest one. He had gloved hands on top of two boys' heads. He had silver hair that was all matted down to one side, almost as if he slept on his head, but she couldn't really identify him any more than that because he had a mask on and a weird headband that covered one eye. The one eye that was showing was closed and in an upside down U almost like he was smiling. He had a dark green vest on with a navy sweatshirt underneath it, at least Kurumu thought it was a sweatshirt. One of the boys he had his hands on was very angry looking. His dark hair was set differently than an average boy's hair while he had his arms crossed over his chest. He was wearing a dark blue t-shirt with a high collar. He had what seemed to be wide arm warmers on. The same strange headband was on his forehead too. He had an angry pout on his face as his dark eyes looked away from the camera. In the middle of the three kids was a search pink-haired girl. Kurumu blinked immediately thinking of Mocha, but then noticed how similar she is from Mocha, but she wasn't Mocha. Her eyes were closed as she grinned at the camera leaning into the picture. Her search pink hair was obviously cared for and the same weird headband was on top of her head like it was a hair ornament. She had a red dress or shirt or whatever on. Overall, Kurumu thought she was quite pretty. The last person in the group looked very familiar to Kurumu. Spiky blonde hair, deep ocean blue eyes, and those adorable whisker marks. However, the boy who she guessed was Naruto had his arms crossed over his chest also. He was growling, it seemed, at the other dark-haired boy who didn't really want to make eye contact with Naruto. He had on a black loose t-shirt on with the same headband on his head only it was turned slightly sideways so the metal part wasn't visible on the camera. He had bandages wrapped around his hands and all the way up to his elbows. On his left shoulder was a metal covering what would be the heart area protecting him from any damage there. Kurumu smiled at the picture, they were obviously good friends. She jumped when she heard Naruto's voice behind her, "That's my team." She whirled around to face him, her breath hitched in her throat from him scaring her like that. Naruto had a soft smile on his face. He then pointed to the man with the silver hair. "That's my sensei. Hada Kakashi. He was like a father to me. He taught some really cool stuff, but no matter what happened he was always there for me." Naruto smiled happily, he pointed to the girl with search pink hair, "That's Haruno Sakura. She's a really close friend of mine and was my first crush. I don't really know where I would be without her. She's a little aggressive, but I don't really mind." He then pointed to the blonde-haired one chuckling, "That's me, the troublemaker in the group." He then pointed to the dark-haired boy, a stern look on his face, "And that's Uchiha Sasuke, used to be my best friend and my rival. The one I told you about earlier." Kurumu looked at him questionably, "Used to be?" Naruto sighed, he turned traitor to get more power from a creepy guy. He wanted to kill his search brother, so much I chased after him when he left, and for that I had almost died. Naruto unconsciously rubbed a scar Sasuke had given him. Naruto turned towards them and said, "Well, guys, I'm pretty tired, so I think I'm going to have to go to bed. If you want me to I can walk you guys home." Kurumu and Tsukyun both shook their heads, indicating that they didn't need to be walked home, and they left Naruto alone with his thoughts. 3 days passed and still Mocha didn't show up to class. Currently, Naruto and Tsukyun were walking down the hallways, slightly depressed because they haven't found a club to join yet. They turned around when they heard a voice behind them. Nekonom-sensei was smiled squinting at them. She stopped in front of the two boys, "Just the two people I wanted to see. Have you decided what club you are going to join yet? You two and Mocha are the only ones who haven't decided yet." Naruto sighed, "Nekonom-sensei, no, we haven't decided yet." Before Naruto could continue, Nekonom-sensei interrupted him, "Splendid. But I wonder if you both won't mind if you joined my club, then the newspaper club. Nobody has joined and we might get shut down." Naruto laughed, scratching the back of his neck, laughing awkwardly, feeling slightly sorry for Nekonom-sensei for not having anyone in her club. Damn his soft heart. "Ah, the newspaper club. Well, that certainly sounds like a nice club I'll join." Nekonom-sensei purred as she hugged Naruto, gleefully rubbing her head against his. Quite oddly she jumped back as if nothing happened and waited for Tsukyun to reply. Tsukyun looked down, unsure if he wanted to or not without Mocha-san. "That's great. I'll join that club." They all turned towards the voice and saw none other than a fully recovered Mocha. She waved at the two of them, a bright smile on her face. "Good morning, Naruto." "Good morning, Tsukyun." Naruto grinned, "Glad you're feeling better, Mocha-chan." Tsukyun smiled happily, "It's good to see you again. For a while I thought you disappeared and left me here with Naruto Damu." Naruto's eyebrow twitched, "Baka. Who are you calling dumb?" "Tsukyun Usui." Tsukyun frowned and looked at Naruto, "Who are you calling weak?" "Baka. I used Baka already, Baka. But you just used it again." "I'm Uzumaki Naruto, the future Hokage of Konohagakure. I can do whatever I want." "That's what you think. I'm Aono Tsukyun. I'm going to beat you on the test scores." "Ha. You can't beat me. I'm too good for that. You have some of the lowest grades in our class. So, don't you want a good job one day?" "I already have one. It's called the Hokage." "Ha. Eat that. I'm not hungry." "Then just chew on it. It has an ugly taste." Ah. You're so dumb. You're the one failing, Naruto Damu. Nekonom-sensei looked between the two arguing boys and then at Mocha who smiled at her. Just sign all of us for the newspaper club, Nekonom-sensei. Nekonom-sensei smiled brightly, then flashed a poster that said, "Welcome to newspaper club." Kurumu popped up behind Mocha and yelled, "Sign me up tool, Nekonom-sensei." The cat teacher grinned, "Wonderful. This year's newspaper club is going to be amazing." Sukyun looked at Naruto, "By the way, why didn't you ever join the basketball club?" Naruto shrugged, "Well, I dunked the ball a little too hard and I ruined the basketball hoop. I broke the backboard, so they had to kick me out of the club." Everyone laughed, including Naruto. Aha. I'm done with this chapter. Okay, I know I didn't update that fast, but that's because I had a momentary writer's block because of some parts, but then after I plowed over them I was all good again. To answer questions. Some of you people out there may demand even more action fight scenes than what I'm giving Naruto, but how can I do that when there isn't a worthy opponent for Naruto? Another thing I know for a fact, some people out there are like, Naruto's too powerful. No, he's not, but he's at a school that has no challenge for him, and the only thing that I made different out of all the manga Naruto series was that I had Jiraiya utilize Naruto's Kagebunshin technique to the fullest, while Naruto just simply conditioned himself to the point of exhaustion every day. As for Naruto knowing the Hirshin, I like the idea. He won't ever use it until he has to, but he does know it and is working on the seal-less version of the Hirshin, and since no one knows how the Hirshin works, I can use it in my story. Haha suckers. Thanks for watching.